October is a significant month, marking Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, a time when we come together to remember, honor, and support the brave women who have experienced these profound losses. At Hey Hannah, we believe that sharing their stories is a powerful way to connect, heal, and make a difference. Before we dive into these incredible stories, let's take a moment to recognize the strength and vulnerability of the women who have joined us. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to them for their courage and their willingness to be open and honest about their experiences. But why is it so crucial to bring awareness to pregnancy and infant loss? Well, here's a staggering statistic that might give you a sense of its significance. According to the World Health Organization, approximately 2.6 million babies are stillborn each year, and an estimated 2.8 million newborns pass away within their first month of life. These are not just numbers, they represent the countless lives affected by this heartbreaking reality. Now, let me tell you why Hey Hannah is dedicated to this cause. Hey Hannah is an ongoing platform that's deeply personal to me. It's a place where I remember my own infant loss, my precious Hannah. Through Hey Hannah, we strive to bring awareness, offer support, and create a community where people who are suffering can find comfort, connection, and belonging within Hannah's hive. Throughout this episode and the others to follow, you will hear remarkable stories from strong, resilient women who found hope and healing through their experiences. These stories will touch your heart, inspire you, and remind you that you're not alone. Together, we can shine a light on a subject that's often kept in the shadows and provide solace to those who need it most. So grab a tissue, get ready for some inspiration, and let's dive into the stories of Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month right here on Hey Hannah. Stay tuned because you don't want to miss a moment of these incredible narratives. Thank you for joining us today, and remember, together we can make a difference. Hey everyone, welcome to the Hey Hannah podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Maya Fields, but to my friends and those who know me well, I'm just Maya. I'm a higher education administrator, a mother, and a wife of 14 amazing years. But above all, I'm a Christ follower. This podcast is a special platform created to honor the memory of my beloved daughter, Hannah. It's here that I have the chance to have the conversations that I never got to have with her, to share the wisdom and love I wish I could have passed on. It's a reminder to cherish the precious moments we're given and a testament to the power of healing, hope, and personal growth. If you're someone who's seeking personal growth, inspiration, and practical advice to build a solid foundation for a successful and fulfilling life, this is a place for you. Join me as we honor Hannah's memory together. Laugh, cry, and learn. Get ready for a podcast that is so much more than you could ever imagine. The Hey Hannah podcast, healing hearts, one conversation at a time. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Hey Hannah podcast. I appreciate you so much for tuning in. We have a special guest today, Lindsey Wimmer. She is the executive director and founder of the Star Legacy Foundation. And I am so grateful that she said yes to come on my podcast and just talk a little bit about all the amazing work that she does. Definitely, she's doing amazing things and very notable in the pregnancy and infant loss space and amongst the healthcare community. So, Lindsey, thank you so much for being here. I absolutely appreciate you taking the time to do so.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, can you tell us a little bit about the origin of Star Legacy Foundation and about some of the work that your organization does?
Yeah. My family and I actually started Star Legacy Foundation after my first son was stillborn, almost a little over 19 years ago. So it's been a while, but really at that point, I started to want to figure out what, as a health professional, how did I not know how much this was happening, how often it was happening, um, and just I was just so blindsided by the whole experience. And so really that was kind of our origin. We started by just raising money for research because we wanted to make a difference. But as I got to know some of the researchers and a little bit more engaged with some of the work that was happening. We saw lots of other opportunities for us to fill some gaps and make a difference. And so that's it's just morphed over time into what we are now, which is one of the largest nonprofits in the United States that is focused on pregnancy and infant loss prevention and then care when prevention is not possible.
Absolutely. It's very unique. And you mentioned like you felt like you were blindsided and you have some impressive credentials in healthcare. So can you just tell us a little bit about your background? Because it's interesting to even know that someone who knows as much as you about, healthcare can still be blindsided by something that can seemingly happen at any point. And it's just so it's scary and nerve wracking, but also it's not as much education out there as we would like it to be.
Absolutely. I'm a nurse practitioner. I worked in pediatrics, so I wasn't in obstetrics, but I'm a nurse practitioner. And I actually remember even, telling my family, was I sick for the month that we must have covered this in school? Like, what is the deal? And I went back and looked at some of my old textbooks and saw that when they talked about pregnancy loss, which of course they called fetal demise, there was really one paragraph in an enormous textbook about maternal child health issues. And that paragraph basically said in situations of fetal demise, the family is going to need additional support. It didn't even really give a lot of information about what that support should look like. And so it inspired me, but also infuriated me at the same time because it gave me some reassurance that I wasn't just a horrible student who missed this major portion of my training, but it was really frustrating that for just like myself, so many health professionals don't get any training on this really important issue. And I think, it's one of those difficult topics that's hard to talk about. Our society in general is not very good at talking about death, but
Yeah.
especially when you're talking about the death of small children and babies, it's just not a comfortable conversation to have. And so most people try to avoid it. And that really has just kind of led to this stigmatization of this type of loss, and it becomes a taboo type of topic. I
Yeah.
know another situation that I had, and I talked to so many lost families that have had similar things where as soon as they start telling about their situation, then people come out of the woodwork and say, well, that happened to me
Yeah.
too, or that happened to my sister, or my mom had 3 losses, and it's, it lets us know that we really aren't as alone as we may feel. But it's really sad that even people that we know really well have carried this type of a pain that they haven't felt comfortable talking about. And I think that has just spilled over into the medical community. And so, so many times physicians and midwives and other health professionals will say, well, this just isn't a fun thing to bring up to families. I'm like,
Yeah.
I get it, but not much in healthcare is a fun and exciting topic to bring up. Nobody wants to talk about breast cancer either, but we do
Yeah.
it. And so I think, some of that has to be, a lot of what we are fighting, so to speak, is just some of that societal pressure to avoid these types of topics.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely hit on a lot of key points. I feel like And this is no knock to my OBGYN because I think he was amazing. But I just feel like he really just didn't have the tools to really support me well through just what was going on. And he mentioned, I remember a conversation. He's like, I got into OB because it's one of the more happy avenues of healthcare. Like you're excited, you're having a baby. So this is going to be kind of like, I guess, the fun healthcare lane. Um, so unfortunately, when you have a baby that passes away, it's not any kind of like what he didn't sign up for, which I get it. I mean, I didn't either, but I completely get that. But the support is still needed. So thank you so much for what you're doing. And you mentioned an important thing too, like we are living with people, friends with people, family members, and you don't know the burden that they're carrying. I feel like I received so many messages of support from old college girlfriends, high school girlfriends, just people from around different places when I mentioned that Hannah had passed away. And I had no idea that they'd ever dealt with these types of things. I was very thankful that they were reaching out to support me, but then you also feel like that's such a huge impact on their life. That's something they will never forget, such a burden that they are carrying daily. And I didn't know.
Absolutely. And I felt so bad that either I hadn't, somehow I was supposed to magically know, or that I hadn't, made them feel comfortable enough to share that in some way, or just that, I don't know that there's really any rules, but it was just another kind of added layer of guilt that, oh, I
Yeah.
feel so bad that there are people that I care so much about, that I didn't know their whole story, or I wasn't available to them in a way that they might have needed me to be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. Well, hats off to you for being in pediatrics. My two little guys are my 4-year-old just turned 5 the like a week or so ago. And then my oldest will be 7 in February. So we were in for the well check. And let me tell you, the little they are a handful. My son, so the pediatrician's going through, the ropes. Show me your ears, your hands, whatever. And he's like, can you count? He's like, yeah, I can count. He said, do you know your ABCs? He said, well, do you know your ABCs? I'm like, listen, the pediatrician knows his ABCs. I think he's good there. But these little kids can really throw you for a loop. So hats off to you for being in a profession that gets to interact with them daily, because I'm sure you have some fun stories about interacting with the little people for sure. Lindsay, you mentioned a lot about just not having as many resources available during the time that you first experienced stillbirth, and then the work that you do now to make sure more education and research is out there. Can you talk about some of the resources that Star Legacy Foundation offers?
Yeah, of course. For families, we, really try to make sure that people, right, understand that they're not alone, and that there are people that are wanting to hear their baby's stories and to help them through this. And so we have several support programs. We have a support line that's open to anyone who is impacted by these types of losses. We also have a series of support groups, some for couples, for dads, for grandparents, for those that are parenting older children, or those that are pregnant again. We also have one that's conducted in Spanish. And so we try to have just like a lot of different types of groups, and we're constantly expanding that as well. We also have a peer support program, which actually
Mhm.
is one of our more popular programs, and it just connects individuals up one-on-one with someone who has maybe had a similar experience. And so, again, just trying to bridge that gap so that people don't feel like they're alone. And we want to make sure that people, have opportunities to talk about their babies, and talk about how it has affected their lives, because I think processing through that is a big piece of being able to move forward, and recognize how to create this new normal for everyone. But we also have programs for health professionals, And we do a lot of education for health professionals. We promote and support a lot of research. We conduct some of our own research as well that looks
Mhm.
at both prevention and bereavement support elements of healthcare. We have a big conference every other year called the Stillbirth Summit, where we bring researchers and experts from around the world together to share what they are working on, but then also collaborate and brainstorm about where the research can go, and even, ideally, opportunities for Star Legacy to help support their initiatives. So we have, lots of ways for anyone who is impacted by these losses to be involved, or also to hopefully get the support that they feel like they need.
You are definitely covering all the bases. It sounds like a wonderful amount of resources that you have. And I love that you're covering all the avenues from not just the immediate family, but the grandparents and the loved ones who are supporting the individuals who are experiencing the loss. I feel like that's very important as well because, as you mentioned, they're supporting those individuals, but they're also experiencing a loss too. And
Mhm.
you get a lot of your immediate support from like your parents, grandparents, those that are closest around you. But with it being a topic that's not discussed as much, they don't necessarily know how to support you all the time. They don't know the best thing to say. They're kind of scrambling as well. So it's good that there are resources for them too, because you're all going through a difficult process for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Our grandparents group is one of our more popular, I guess. That's probably not the right word, but we always have a very large group of grandparents. And I think
Mhm.
just what you're saying is they are relied on to support their adult children and others in the family, but there's not a whole lot of resources for them to then lean on and ask for support. And they're in a unique situation too, because they have a duality to their grief, where most of them will talk about how, of course, they are devastated over the loss of their grandchild, but the
Mhm.
more immediate pain that they're having to deal with is watching their own child deal with such a significant life
Yeah.
event that they can't just fix. And so a lot of times they have to kind of work through that before they even get to their own grief. Another thing that is interesting and kind of adds to the complexity for grandparents in particular is that 30, 40, 50 years ago, it
Mhm.
was very common for these families to be encouraged to just hurry up and forget that this ever happened. Don't see your
Mhm.
baby, name your baby, don't have any services. They wouldn't allow them to really kind of engage or interact with the baby at all. And
Wow.
the response was to forget that it happened and hurry up and get pregnant again. And so there may be a lot of grandparents who through their childbearing years
Yeah.
saw people get this type of advice and may feel like maybe that's what's supposed to happen. Or a lot of
Mhm.
them also maybe had their own losses, and this was how it was responded to. And so there can be some kind of internal conflict and maybe even some reprocessing of their own grief elements if if they had their own losses that they weren't ever really able um, to talk about.
Oh man, that's an interesting perspective to consider and obviously just makes the whole grieving process and the process of loss a lot more complex as it already is.
Yeah.
Um of the resources that you mentioned, are any of these virtual options or do you have to attend one of these groups in your area in person?
Nope, all of our groups are virtual. They're accessible to anyone who has access to phone, email, or all of our groups are conducted over Zoom, and they're completely free for anybody. We really want to try to make them as accessible as possible.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. And the support line. So if you call into the support line, who are you going to speak with?
Yeah, you're going to speak to one of our family support coordinators, and
Okay.
we have social workers, child life specialists, nurses. We have lots of medical people that have specialized training and experience with these types of losses.
Awesome. That sounds like definitely a great resource to have. Now, you mentioned also, I just want to circle back quickly to the Stillbirth Summit. Now, is the summit only for healthcare professionals, or is there an avenue for individuals who've experienced loss to come to the summit and receive some type of education, resources, anything at that moment?
Yeah, it is open to anyone who would like to learn more. And many times the parents will even tell us the presentations are geared for health professionals. So
Yeah.
many times parents will tell us, I didn't understand everything, but I understood enough to know that I'm really grateful for the work that they're doing. And so
Yeah.
there's certainly fantastic opportunities for us all to learn from each other in that way.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Now, ton of different initiatives going on. How do you measure the impact of the programs and the different initiatives that you have out there? Like, how do you know what you're doing is working and what defines success in those avenues for you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question because at the end of the day, really our ultimate objective is to work ourselves out of a job, right? That we we hope that if we could just wipe pregnancy loss off of the planet, then it would be fantastic. But that's not a very realistic ask at this particular moment. And so we really are just focusing on the individual impact that we have for families. We've just been going through and doing significant program evaluations for all of our individual programs, and just trying to identify what it is that families find helpful or that they maybe wish was there that isn't, that we can adapt and change some of those programs. And we're just constantly trying to recognize that there's lots of different ways to measure that impact. And so how each individual family or person defines that is a big part of that for us. Oh.
Now, to anyone who's listening and they just feel, a tug on their heart to get involved with Star Legacy Foundation, how can just regular everyday person get involved and, link arms with the foundation to really help in this particular area?
Yeah. One of the easiest ways is to reach out to us, info at starlegacyfoundation.org, or follow us on social media and reach out to us through those channels. We're happy to have everyone really kind of be part of this family, because we know it's going to take a lot of effort, and we are just so honored to have anyone join us that's willing and interested.
Good deal. And I'll definitely put that email address and the link to the website in the notes. If you don't have a pen, don't worry, it will be there for you. And I do think it's wonderful how very responsive you all are on social media. That's how I found out about the organization. And I sent in just like a DM about you coming, and I got a response. And I'm like, oh, I didn't really expect that. But yes, you all are very responsive on social media. So when she says connect on social media, please do. You'll get some type of information there. So kudos to you all for that. Couple more questions I want to ask you. How can an individual who is dealing with loss, has dealt with loss, honor their baby with Star Legacy Foundation? Do you have any avenues for that at your particular organization?
We do, and we really try to be flexible to allow families to honor their baby in ways that feel good to them.
Yeah.
Some of the easiest and maybe simplest are, is we have a star wall where we call all of these babies our stars. And so anyone can add their baby's name to the star wall, and that's one way that we just constantly remember all of these babies, and serves as a reminder to us about why we're doing the work that we're doing. We also have a lot of families who will create like a memorial page for their baby on our website.
Yeah.
We have a lot of families who have like events or different activities in their local community for their family and friends, and do it in honor of their baby, and we're happy to help support that in some certain ways. We also have a lot of what we call champion events, but they're local community events where people can gather in the local community, and a lot of times it's a great opportunity for lots of families who have had these similar experiences to get together and say their babies' names and share their stories, and again just kind of recognize that they're not alone. Some of these events get really creative. Our volunteers are just amazing at coming up with just different ways to honor the babies and recognize that, or allow families to get involved. We also do quite a few events virtually through social media, and just trying to recognize ways that we can share these babies' names and know that they still have a place in all of our hearts and in our lives moving forward, even though it looks differently than what we had hoped for.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for offering those avenues. Very much appreciated. Um, and it's not as well known about the different avenues to still honor such a heavy loss. So to have those there is definitely it helps to heal your heart in a unique way if you're experienced or have experienced a loss similar to this. Future plans, aspirations for Star Legacy Foundation. What's next? What do you hope for? What do you want to achieve overall for the organization?
Yeah, we like I said before, we actually constantly hope that we don't aren't needed. But our biggest goal is to really make a huge impact in reducing the number of these losses that we see, certainly worldwide. But we're starting here in the U.S. and putting most of our resources into our local communities, and we want to make we're working on several programs and initiatives that we hope will help break some of that silence and the
Yeah.
stigma that exists around that, and so that health professionals have the education and the training, but also the tools to have these conversations with families, and especially on the prevention side, and maybe even before some of these losses may happen, so that families have every opportunity to have that safe and healthy pregnancy, but then also every opportunity to receive the support that they need. And part of that starts from just having conversations like these out in the open. And so we have lots of initiatives aimed at trying to support those health professionals that are doing this good work, and ways to help equip those that are wanting to get more progressive in their care.
Wonderful. Well, Lindsay, you are definitely making an impact, and I'm sure it's fulfilling to see like all the work that you're putting out there and being a significant help to so many others. I'm just curious, with this topic being so close to home for you, why continue to work specifically in this vein and have the personal struggle of, I guess, like the consistently facing stillbirth again
Hmm.
every day in your work?
Yeah. I think at this point, well, two things. From a personal side, this is how I now parent my son who died, and so there's lots of ways that we can channel that parenting energy, and this
Yeah.
was something that I could use that time and energy that I wanted to raise him into a good productive member of our society. I'm now using that to have his legacy mean something to other people on this earth, and we're just having to do that in a different way. And so that really is kind of what continues to drive me personally. But I think the because I did have a professional background in healthcare, it also does it's so much of this speaks to the my science brain, my that side of it. And so um and it has been long enough for me. It's not that I forget, because we never forget,
Yeah.
but it is easier for me as I get further out to let it be about other families, and to really put that emphasis on what they need, and where those gaps are.
Awesome. Well, I completely relate to that. And I completely understand, having the podcast and creating a space, the emphasis being that having conversations on here that I thought I would have the opportunity to have with Hannah. And so
I'm a little bit closer to it. Hannah passed in 2022. It's very hard to continue to, even say the name of the podcast sometimes, but I feel like just a face. Like, I don't have to solve the problems of the world, but just the face of someone who's dealing with, has dealt with, is currently walking through a similar situation, I feel like can be so helpful to anyone who's experiencing the loss. So I just want to keep showing up, and I appreciate you and your organization for continuing to show up and make such an impact in the community. So we end every episode with the same question. I'm interested for your piece of encouragement or feedback, especially from the health community. Are you going to tell us to take our vitamins, or we need to go get our flu shot? No, but seriously, what is the best piece of advice that you've received, or a piece of advice you'd love to pass on to someone that you deeply care about?
Yeah. I think the thing that I was told once that I try to remember hard all the time is to love hard. Um, and really just tell those people that you love every day that you love them, and cherish those moments that you get with them, and try to be present in those moments, and yeah, just love those around you really hard.
Oh, that was good. That was a good one. Yes, love hard. I love it. Hannah's Hive, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you picked up on a ton of wonderful resources. As I said, I will place the links to Star Legacy Foundation website and the different initiatives and ways that you can jump in the notes. So feel free to check those out, connect with the organization, and see how you can get plugged in. Until next time, everyone, take care.
Then that's it. I'm out of here. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Hey Hannah podcast. We hope that you found inspiration, insight, and encouragement in our conversation today. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay connected with us, be sure to like, subscribe, and review the Hey Hannah podcast. Your feedback helps us reach more people and spread our message of love and wisdom. You can also follow us on social media at Hey Hannah Podcast. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to stay updated on all the latest episodes, behind the scenes exclusives, and engaging content. And for those of you who prefer the visual experience, catch the video versions of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Just search Hey Hannah Podcast and hit that subscribe button to never miss an episode. For even more Hey Hannah goodness, visit our website at www.heyhannahpodcast.com. There you'll find updates, bonus content, and join a community that embraces you with open arms. Your continued support truly means the world to us. Together, let's spread love, share wisdom, and honor every precious moment. Because here at Hey Hannah, we believe that life is meant to be lived well. Remember, a new episode of the Hey Hannah podcast is released every Wednesday, so mark your calendars and be sure to tune in. Thank you again for being a part of Hannah's Hive. Until next time, take care.
Entertainment.